The first and the hardest step that I went through was self-awareness. So I had to come to terms with who I really was as a person. And that was like the hardest thing in the world for me to do. I started diving into meditation at that point, is where I really started with it, and had to face all those demons and sit there, letting those thoughts process through your mind and let your mind work them out. Once I realized this is who I am, I need to change, then I started doing more and more habits. As I did those habits and I went through it is where I really started to learn all the different stuff that I was learning. It's in the process of doing those things where things start to change for you. By doing all that stuff, very quickly, my life changed. Everything changed. Everything I really kind of ever was searching for came to reality.
Guys, before we get started, just want to let you know, if you have any questions for us, please click the link below. You could ask us any questions via email, and we'll get back to you by the end of the episode.
We have our friend Danny from Mindset Made, which is a wonderful app and soon-to-be coaching and accountability program that he's founded to try and provide people accountability and support. We linked up with Danny through our good friend Casey from Lifted for Life, and we're excited to hear what he's got to say. Danny was part of the Plunge, Lunge, and Lunch we did a few weeks ago, and that was super successful for me and Pete. Just, not to say fill our egos, but fill our tanks a little bit. We got some people out, made some great connections, and that's my first real interaction with Danny was at that event. So, Dan, tell us a little bit about what you're doing, where you're at, and how you wound up here.
I guess, well, let me explain what Mindset Made is, right? And I'll explain it like this. So there's a lot of people searching for a life that they really never get to because they don't figure out that it starts with you, right? So Mindset Made started in my own suffering through going down that path. So what it is, what the app is, and what we do on social media is basically just try to lead people down that path. Because if you haven't figured out that the life you're searching for starts with you, then you're never gonna get there. And basically what it is it's a bunch of healthy habits that you can do every day, and by following those habits, you change. Your life changes around you, everybody around you changes, and that's basically what it is.
So now
Awesome.
You started this, or we were talking earlier, and I know you mentioned you watched Andy Frisella clip, and it kind of sparked a fire in you.
Right.
And now at that point in time, were you kind of like stagnant, trying to figure out a way?
Up until that point in time, I was making all the wrong choices in life, which were put me in a dark place mentally, physically, all of that. And I'd say at that time I had it. I was just fed up with life. I was thinking I'd rather not be here.
Damn.
So, bro, I get that, man. I fucking get that. I've said it here. I think if everybody's being honest, I said it on Casey's episode. If everybody's being honest, I think everybody's had that thought.
Yeah.
And the ability to have the awareness to acknowledge that you're in that dark of a place is the first step to getting the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
You got to be able to claw back. And, Pete always says life's like the wrestlebacks when he's talking to kids about wrestling. If you're built for it and you could wrap your mind around rebuilding yourself, that's where you got to start.
Well, and that's what we're trying to do with Mindset Made, is to make sure that we try to connect with as many people as we can so that they understand that there is a path you can take. That path is personal development. It could be another different path. I'm not saying that's the only path, but that sort of path can take you down a great road.
Yeah.
Starting with yourself and doing these habits every day, and it could lead to.
I think that's awesome. And you actually kind of look like Andy a little bit.
He does, right?
Yeah. You have the same look, dude.
So,
and he's a big Andy guy too.
I'm
you
sure.
were going to first form until you blew out your arm, right?
Yeah. Yep.
He's got great stuff. So that's a 75 hard, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
So, I see a lot of his stuff on Instagram. I absolutely love all that lifestyle stuff. What does your daily routine or daily habits kind of look like? Or basically, like, what was the turning point? Was it that video that you saw that said, like, holy shit, there's a way out of this mindset I have? Like,
it was. And what I don't remember what he said, but something clicked. And I realized that I had to like the first and the hardest step that I went through was self-awareness. So I had to come to terms with like who I really was as a person.
Right.
And that was like the hardest thing in the world for me to do
imagine
because I was a piece of shit, to be honest.
Yeah, no one wants to look in the mirror and
Exactly.
acknowledge their downfalls.
So I started diving into meditation at that point is where I really started with it and had to face all those demons and sit there. Like most people say, like, oh, I can't meditate, I can't sit there. And it's really facing that stuff. It's really sitting there, not being silent and, you know, like the gurus say.
Yeah.
But it's more letting those thoughts process through your mind and let your mind work them out. And so going through that, once I realized this is who I am, I need to change, then I started doing more and more habits. And as I followed First Form and Andy Frisella and stuff like that, he was talking about all those habits that you do. And everybody that he had on his show, when I listened to him, it was back when he did the MFCEO project. And that was a little bit different. It was for entrepreneurs. And but he would bring people on. They would talk about doing certain habits every day. Meditating, reading, working out, all this sort of stuff. So I just started following that direction. And as I did those habits and I went through it is where I really started to learn all the different stuff that I was learning. Like, it takes you down that path.
It does.
You guys know.
Yeah.
And you learn so much more. It's not just, oh, I'm reading, I'm working out. It's in the process of doing those things where things start to change for you. You start to change.
Yep.
And what I saw by doing all that stuff was very quickly my life changed. Like, my kids' lives changed, my wife's life, my work, everything changed. Everything I really kind of ever was searching for came to reality.
That's amazing.
But through doing those habits. So then
That
it
started
just,
for you with meditation.
yes.
That's comforting for me because we had Dave Seidenberg on, and Seidy's become a really good friend of everybody here. He's always mentioned on here. He got me hooked up, or it made me aware of meditation. And I'm not saying I'm great at it. I'm not saying I do it every night, but I try to do it. And it's helped a lot. And I got some struggles going on right now, and I'm neglecting myself, but it helps get me some clarity now. And more beneficial to me, it's been beneficial to my kids. Like last night, my daughter hurt herself jumping on the trampoline. If you ask this girl, she broke her leg. She wouldn't walk. I had to carry her around the house for an hour and a half. I bring her upstairs. I get her in a bathtub. And I tell her, baby, you got to take 5 deep breaths. Then we did 5 more deep breaths. She calmed herself down. She starts moving her ankle. And I say that just to hammer home. It's brought them a little bit of peace. Now, they're young and they don't have the racing thoughts that we have.
Yeah.
But it snaps them out of it. Even those 5, 10 quick deep breaths, which isn't really meditation, but you're focusing on finding
Focus
your
on your
center.
breathing.
And it's helped them. And I see the pureness come back out of them in those moments. And I know it's attainable for me. And obviously it was attainable for you.
So do
Just
you still
started there.
meditate every day?
I do.
How long?
10 minutes, 12
10
minutes.
minutes?
Yeah.
Morning,
doesn't
night,
take
does it
much.
matter?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's I always, well, I wouldn't say always, but since I started doing it, I was really for the morning.
Okay.
I was really pushing, get all my habits done.
Right.
Because that way I went out in the day as a better person,
the
and it seemed
momentum.
like everything in my life was better that day if I had done my stuff in the morning. But now with my schedule, it's spread out.
Yeah. All right,
But
good. But
life
as long as
happens.
as long as you're making that time window for yourself, because Dave was even saying, he was saying to us that day that he was here that the thoughts that you have at night are going to translate to how you feel in the morning. So a lot of times for guys, myself included, the nighttime when the house is quiet is when kind of like those other voices start coming in.
Yeah.
The bills are due, all
don't
the
have a
stress and everything else. And like that stuff all starts to come in. And then of course you're going to wake up with that same type of panic reaction mode. And I personally was kind of piggybacking a little bit off of Andy Frisella, and I had this daily checklist for myself that I would do. And once I kind of was doing that, I had the same type of thing changed. It wasn't like my life changed. It was just my lens shifted.
Yeah.
Like I was filling my cup a
perspective.
little bit. I was doing gratitude
that's so
lists.
important, bro.
You know, yeah. So now the nighttime is more like a prayer form that I found. But it honestly, and the same thing with Evan, it helps us fall asleep too. Because you're finding some gratitude there. You're being thankful, being grateful. So aside from the meditation, so now that meditation happens 10 minutes, you're doing it every day regardless. If you could do it in the morning, middle of the day, lunch break, coffee break, whatever it may be, you're finding that time. What else does it look like for you personally?
Every morning, without fail, and I would tell anybody that I would talk to that was seeking help to make sure you do gratitude in the morning.
Yeah.
Because it just reminds you of what really matters in life. You know, as you go through gratitude lessons, you end up getting better and you end up getting to what matters.
Exactly.
So when you think about those things in the morning and you go out through your day, you treat people better, and you'll see that just people treat you better.
You're right.
You know,
You're giving off better energy.
Energy's
Exactly.
coming and going.
Yeah.
You
For
know,
sure.
Which is what all this is about. Which
Yeah.
all the habits create you having better energy, and then the world changes around you.
Right.
So
Which
it's-
ultimately got us connected in the first place. And
Without
that's
a
what I'm
doubt.
starting to realize about this thing, whether you want to call it an energy frequency. I keep saying there's a movement for self-improvement. Maybe the movement's always been happening, but I wasn't moving on that level.
Yeah.
Or maybe
But now
people are
you're
just
here.
more aware now, and now the conversations, like there could have been years ago that you could have been putting those Instagram posts up, and if I didn't go through what I went through, maybe I would have just kept scrolling.
It would've
Now I
resonated.
see your stuff, and it hits my heart.
Yeah.
And like to see people, and we talk a lot about for guys where you basically, you know, somebody could tell us what to do, and we don't really listen per
Yeah.
se. But when you're in that.
Yep.
I need to get better and feel better. This is not, and it's not that you weren't grateful in those moments. You just weren't taking time to acknowledge that gratitude. So maybe you were coming off a little bit more angry at work or to your wife or to the kids. All right, so we got meditation, gratitude. What else you got on the daily?
Well, just to speak on something you
Yeah.
just said, Andy Frisella says this too, and I experienced it myself, was when you are becoming that person, you're doing your habits and you're growing as an individual, you get to a period of time where, okay, you're breaking off from being this person, and when you were this person, you had all these people in your life.
Yeah.
Those
Change your
people aren't
surroundings.
doing everything you're doing. So what you're talking about is you get to a period of time where you don't have anybody.
Gets a little bit
You know
lonely
what I mean?
there, which is a good lonely.
And you're still not that person. I'm still not that person
Right.
to come and talk to you guys or to hang out with you guys because you guys
Right.
are already there.
Right.
So it takes someone like me to take a while to build myself
Mm-hmm.
before I start connecting with like-minded people and
that
making new
exact
friends
thing
and
you're
stuff.
talking about happened to me.
Yes.
I was
You might have somebody
in
break
that same
barrier.
thing.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sorry, Pete.
No, it's fine. I was just kind of visualizing how things went for me when I was desperate and searching for answers with no driver's license, half a tooth,
You feel
working
lonely.
from home. I was feeling lonely for sure, but I was doing these things every single day. So I was feeling better by the day, but I didn't really have like a, hey, this is what I'm doing.
Yep.
Hey, oh, that's what you're doing. You're
That's
doing
the
the same
point.
thing?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
That's the point of this.
Where now it's
Yeah.
kind of like,
And
yeah.
you know what's really nice for me, and I'm sure you experience it. Me and Pete started this with the goal of just helping one person and helping ourselves along the way. We've provided ourselves the ability to break down that barrier because we've made that first bit of contact with
Right.
people that have seen this. And if they feel it, maybe they're a little bit more comfortable or apt to reach out. And a lot of people have. You know, I'm not saying you got to be out walking the streets looking for somebody who's struggling.
Yeah.
But I will tell everybody, if you're struggling, I don't have any answers for you. We could figure it out together. We could try. We could call some people I know, or Pete knows, or Danny knows, or Casey knows, or Ev knows. But we can get through it together. No one should waste away in self-pity or wallow in sorrow.
Yeah.
Just reach out because Pete said it a million times. We are stronger together, and we can get through anything. But you're putting up videos, we're putting out content, whatever it is, trying to break that barrier.
Yeah.
Make it easier for people to reach out. That first interaction is so important.
Yeah.
We've now bred a little bit of familiarity. They hear that we all struggle. it makes it easier to say, like, yo, I'm struggling. This is what I'm doing. Can you help me
Yeah.
with your cocktail for success?
That's the
and
thing.
peace?
We keep finding these
Yeah,
additional
new
cocktail
shit.
recipes all the time.
Well, like you talked about going to bed with a certain mindset and waking
Yeah.
up with that mindset.
Yeah.
That's why I used to be at work at 6:15 in the fucking
know.
morning.
I was thinking
because
about
I
that.
went to bed so stressed.
Yeah.
I would wake up,
Yeah.
I would get dressed, shower, get
Yeah.
dressed, and leave.
You probably
I
weren't
needed-
giving off good energy to your wife and your kids at that time either.
You know what? I
When your
probably
mind
was.
is there.
I pride myself on being really clear with
Yeah.
my kids about how much I love them
Yeah,
because
yeah,
nothing
yeah.
else matters.
For sure.
But I try to shelter them. Now, I will tell you, right now, the last 3 weeks, I probably haven't been giving off the best energy. Just going through a lot of shit personally, and I'm managing it the best I can right now
Yeah.
with the strain that I'm under. But I've always tried to put things in perspective. So now I'll wake up, I'll spend more time with my kids. We'll have breakfast in the morning.
There
I
you
never
go.
did that before.
Yeah.
Now I am because I can't. None of the avenues I need to work in the morning are open at 6:15.
Yeah.
You're right.
So what am
You're
I
right,
doing?
but they're there and they're awake.
Yeah.
And they love you regardless.
And a hug from my son or my daughters, bro. It doesn't matter what's happening.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Back
That's
to-
what counts.
Going back to something you said, the owner of the company I work for, who's over time become like family to me, and he's been a great mentor, gave me a really good piece of advice for somebody who has racing thoughts at night, right? Because I would struggle and talk to him about this with so much going on.
I can imagine.
So, dude, I can't sleep. Like, I'm really stressed out. I feel like I'm going to have a heart attack. And he just said, because he had already gone through what I went through, he just said, just get a notebook, put it on your nightstand, and when you think of something, just write it down. Even if it's 5 or 6 things through the night, you write it down. As soon as you write it down,
Right.
it just goes away.
Settles
It's
it.
like, there you go. I'll get to it tomorrow. You don't have to think
Right.
about it. So if it's 5 or 10 things that's bugging you, it's usually just a few issues.
Yeah.
Right.
Get
That are
them on
probably
paper,
pretty quick to resolve.
Take care of it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then one piece of advice for him was huge in my marriage, because
sure.
my wife would be talking to me and I wouldn't even be listening.
Checked out.
I want to
We've been
listen,
there.
but I wasn't listening because I was worried about am I gonna disappoint anybody at work, or am I gonna be able to make this deadline or whatever, or don't forget to order that truck tomorrow or something like that.
Yeah.
And by writing that stuff down, now I'm more focused on Lisa and Soph at night, and I'm able to give them.
Which, by the way, it was so awesome to see them come out with you.
It
for the
was. And
plunge,
they made
lunch,
such
and
a
lunch.
far trip, too.
Yeah.
I mean, how far did you guys drive that day?
an hour.
Still.
Yeah.
But now
Everybody else drove 15 minutes to get there.
And you got your whole family there, like, bro. That was
was
really
awesome.
cool.
Yeah,
and
that was awesome.
Seeing the support that you have with your family, and listen, I love my wife, I love my kids. I don't think I'm getting my son out there to do that with me. Not right now. I
And you
mean,
know
he's
what?
only
Your
6.
daughter's watching, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she sees the example you're setting.
Well, that's what we're all doing, right?
Yeah.
Even with the habits and getting on that path to personal development, like you talk about the lonely stage. I wasn't just my friends I felt like I was leaving behind. I don't want to say I left them behind somewhere worse, but I'm saying it felt like I left them behind, but it also felt like I was leaving my family
I
behind.
think a lot of people get there,
And-
and what they'll do is they stay there and they don't go to the gym, or they don't do the things for themselves, myself included a lot of times. But you're so right on that. And I think that once you push past that barrier, that's when you start to realize, okay, no, this is a good selfish. This isn't being a selfish prick at the bar, smoking cigars with my bros
Yeah.
all night when I'm not with the kids, or any of these other
You're not out chasing
actually
tail,
selfish
you're
things that
bettering
you
yourself.
could do. Like these
Yeah.
there's good selfish and bad selfish.
Well,
Those
I
are
tell people
good
all the
selfish.
time, you have to become selfish to become selfless.
You have to.
And I had to do that. Like
Yeah.
there were times when my wife was saying that that I wasn't paying attention to her. She was calling me selfish, and I was like, man, I'm doing all of this
Yep.
for you guys. But I knew at that point I was already far enough in my journey to know, like, if I keep going and I just keep becoming this person that I know I want to become, then they'll change too.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they did.
Yeah.
And-
Leading
but
by
it took a
example.
while.
I'm
you
sure.
know, some people don't make it past that point.
You're absolutely
You know,
right.
in their marriages or with their family.
Well, you got to realize the strength of the bond you had with your partner in that point, because a
Right.
lot of people get threatened by somebody, their significant other, let's say, their progress. You know,
Yes.
I'm sure there were periods where she felt a little inadequate. You're making all this progress. Maybe she feels
You
like,
think you're better than me.
yeah,
or-
like she feels like she's stuck standing still, and you're, off to
Yep.
the races. But you guys were strong enough to
Yeah.
weather that storm together.
That
Absolutely.
was part of the reason why I started pushing things on social media, and part of the reason why I made the app is I had a hard time trying to bring other people I cared about up with me in the sense of what you go through. You guys know, and people who do personal development paths know that, like, it's incredible what you feel as you go through this stuff, and you become the person that you're searching to become, the better version of yourself. And I would get a lot of kickback, like, you think you're better than me, or you're not the same person you used to be, and it's like,
Hey, I'm not
that's
supposed
the
I don't
point,
want to be the
dude.
Yeah,
same
I'm not
person
supposed to
I
be the
was.
That's
same
the
guy.
point. What
Yeah.
we were doing wasn't right,
Right.
and the people who we were isn't the people you want to be in life, and it's not never going to get you where you want to go. That's why I said in the beginning, a lot of people search for a life that they'll never have unless they figure it out. And what you got to figure out is you need to go down a path to take care of you, a selfish path, and take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Now, have you always been like into, I'm not going to say into, self-help, but like, have you always been in the gym and doing plunges and stuff like that? Or was like, the gym something you always did, then you got into plunges, or was the gym something new to you when you
Before-
started this journey? Because you are an animal in the gym. I've seen you work out.
Yeah. Well, you guys I felt like I was getting put to shame with you guys. That was a tough
wild, bro.
workout.
I think we all
crushed
felt
it.
that way.
That was a hell of a workout.
I just
we all
didn't want to
felt
look
that
like a
way.
bitch. I was like, I
Same.
better keep going.
Say, if I was there by myself, I would have given up, no
It
doubt.
would-
But
yeah.
you look over, somebody else is still getting it.
And
You're
it
like,
was
all right, I'll keep
super
going.
inspiring.
Let's be honest.
I'll
You've
keep
never
going.
given up on a physical
Yeah.
challenge, I don't think, in your life.
No.
Yeah, but in that setting, dude, it's different, bro. You know,
Yeah.
if it's just you,
Yeah.
and the goal is to do 20, fucking
Well,
eight.
there's
Yeah.
there's
You're
power in your
right,
team.
you're
You know what I mean?
You're
Where
right.
everybody else is there.
You
It's like,
can't,
all right.
in that atmosphere, you couldn't hide from it.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was
You
contagious
had to
for
push
all of us.
yourself.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I thrive in that setting where
Me
there's other
too.
people like, and not for me personally. I thrive in the sense that I want to big you up and I want to
Yeah.
big Pete up. Like,
and simultaneously, that gets you going.
yeah, like
you know?
my juice comes from yelling,
Yeah.
support for everybody else.
Yeah.
And that's why I can, in my mind, excel in that setting.
Yeah.
Because I want to see you do it. And I want to see you do it. I'd like to do it, but my primary concern is picking you guys up to
There
get
you
you
go.
through it.
Yeah.
And you guys showed up and
Yeah.
you banged out that day. You got it done.
And it's usually just me and Casey working out and trying
but
to lift
Casey's
each other
soft,
up.
man.
Yeah. But when I went to that
People
workout with
smash
you
She's an
guys,
animal, by the way. Just for everybody watching, let me remind everybody, Casey is from Lifted for Life. Before he came up today, he was at the reservoir. What'd you do, 5 miles? Yeah. 5 miles, no problem. 30-pound rucksack.
And
guy
the
is a
lifted
beast.
is for the weights being lifted. That's
Yeah.
why
he's a
he
beast.
came up with that name.
He puts me to shame, but I always got to constantly remind him I'm 45.
God bless.
He's in his 30s.
Most of the time, men are competitive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go do that. Well, guess who's coming behind me?
There you go.
Yeah.
Who's gonna catch me?
There you
Yeah.
go.
And that's what
Not me.
Yeah.
I ain't running 5 miles.
And that's what was super inspiring to me when I went and worked out with you guys. 'Cause I've never done that sort of setting. Now I want to do that all the time
Right.
because I pushed myself. I thought I was pushing myself, but when I went there and worked out with you guys that
It's
day,
different.
I pushed myself further than I
Good.
had gone in a while.
Good.
It's a
But
different
that's
kind
awesome.
of setting and atmosphere. And even in my one-on-ones with Robbie's really inspirational to me. He can bring it out of me. Like, there have been a couple
Yeah.
sessions in the last month or so. I would walk in and be like, bro, I'm just not feeling it. Let's just, like, sit down, let's bang out some bench and talk and bullshit. And
Nah.
he doesn't let it happen.
No,
He doesn't let it
It
happen.
ain't gonna happen.
And we get after it. And,
Yeah.
I thank him from the bottom of my heart because it genuinely makes me feel better. The high intensity training and him pushing you or pushing me at that moment clears my mind.
Yeah.
And gives me a little bit of actual time to be selfish and take care of me. And he
Have
brings
to.
it out of me. But, in that environment, you need that sometimes. You need that fucking push.
Yeah.
I'll push you anytime you need.
Yeah.
But I need you to push me too. Just
Yeah.
like Pete does for me. And that's that's kind of what it's all about, is building that network, right?
I love it. I love it. You guys got me juiced up. I'm ready to go hit the resi right
Listen,
now.
I'm not ready for
Go hit
that.
the resi with Casey right now,
I'll
dude.
hit Robbie right now. We can go to Leaks.
Yeah,
And we
let's go.
can go there right after this. I'm down.
go.
Danny ain't going to do much, but
Yeah.
maybe I can keep up with him because he's got one arm.
And that's
Maybe
how my
Kate-
wife
maybe
works out
Case will
too.
keep
She
out with
don't
him.
she don't take any breaks. Like I went out, she's like, "Come do a workout with me," and I went down with her just a couple weeks ago before surgery, and I'm like, "You're not gonna stop it all?" She's like, "I don't stop it all for a half hour." I mean, she goes from one machine to the next.
That's it.
And I'm like, "Well, I take a little bit of a break in between because I'm pumping heavier iron."
yeah.
But it was like calisthenics and stuff like that is a lot harder than pumping
You
iron.
get sweaty. There's a lot of
you're
mental
working-
health benefits in there, man.
Without a
Well, you're
doubt.
working your
Really-
entire body
Yeah.
with calisthenics.
Yeah,
It's
just
everything.
any way of getting sweaty. There's
Oh,
so much
yeah.
clarity there.
Yeah.
and I think that's one of the many issues going on currently amongst men is that lack of sweat, the lack of movement, the lack of community. It's a lot. These answers are a lot closer for a lot of people than I think you think. Because I've been in that really bad mental self-pity rut that I know what these guys are feeling like currently. And it's like, yo, get some good people around you that maybe you're doing a little bit better than you. Kind of learn from somebody a little bit. Get yourself sweaty. Do some jumping jacks, man. Start with that.
But
Do some
it
knee
depends-
push-ups. Get it
depends on
rolling.
It depends on the person, right? Because you weren't looking for a quick fix. You weren't looking to feel better in the next 10 minutes.
I was
We
looking for anything.
No, but we live in a world of instant gratification where
Yeah.
you're searching for something. You need to buy
Right.
a table or whatever.
at your
you go on the
house in
phone.
3 business days.
Yeah, but self-improvement doesn't happen because you click the button and it's done tomorrow.
No.
That is a journey, and no one.
Yep.
The vast majority of people are not willing to put the time into it. They're not willing to put the time into their marriage if it's on the rocks and try and fix it. They're not willing to put the time into themselves if they're struggling mentally or physically, whatever it is. People want a quick fix. That's why, prescriptions and stuff like that are such a big thing. No one wants to explore and do that trial and error.
That's where all the answers are, though.
Yeah, you have to find out who you are
That's
to fix
the
yourself.
journey.
Yeah.
It's inside the habits.
Yep.
It's
But not
But not
inside
everybody's
doing
built
them.
for it, Danny. Not everybody's built for that.
I believe everybody is built
Me
for
too.
it.
Well,
I
they
just
have to, but they need somebody to show them that way. You know,
Or they
Exactly.
need to feel extremely desperate and
Yeah.
find answers amongst themselves on their own.
But when you feel extremely desperate, that brings you to a lot of other solutions as well, other than just, we're going to work hard to feel better. It brings you to a really dark place. I've been there. I know. I'm stronger than I was because of the people I've surrounded myself with today. Dark thoughts are much easier to submit to than positivity.
without a doubt.
It's, and that's, for me, that's my personal experience.
Yeah.
It's easier to sit here and be like, oh, my kids and my wife and my mother and my father would be better off without me. Then you know what? I'm going to get up at 5 a.m., I'm going to the fucking gym, and we're going to work hard. It's just easier to take the easy road sometimes.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, going back to like what we said, where they're searching for that life that they're not going to have because they haven't figured out that it's the habits, is they make it more complicated than it is.
That's what I was
It's
basically
really
trying to say. Like,
not complicated.
Yeah.
Get up, do these habits, and I guarantee you your life will change. It's simple.
Yep. I don't necessarily have the date and time that it's going to click and you're
But
going to
it's
feel
going
it.
to
But
happen.
if you take one step at a time, it's going to get there.
The longer you do and the more you do,
Yeah.
then the better your life gets.
More consistent, too.
Exactly.
But you walk into a doctor's office and they say, oh, you
That's
got
the
some mental
problem.
health struggles. Take this in 2 weeks, you're going to feel better. Now, in 2 weeks, you might not feel better. They're just going to give you a higher dose or a different medication.
Yeah.
They're giving you a timeline. Like
Tough
you guys
place to
said.
be, man.
But you can't sit here and say, work on yourself, do X, Y, and Z,
Yeah.
and you're going to feel better in a month. You can't do that because it's all determined based on your commitment.
Yeah.
So
The commitment, the consistency, and really how bad and how dark things really
how
truly
bad you
are for
want
you.
it. Yeah.
Because even like the gratitude and stuff, you can get a lot of clarity right there in itself that, holy shit, I was just losing sleep over something. I wrote it down and I feel good as it is. I don't even need to get sweaty today. I'm
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, and you asked me, what that path looked like for me before this current path, right? Like what my workouts look like, and you just brought up medication. So my path was full of self-sabotage. I was going to the gym, but I was only going to the gym to look good, to get girls or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was on medication because I was going to therapy because I was so screwed up in the head.
So what was this self-sabotage like? So you had basically, you were at therapy. They were probably giving you some pills there. Were you drinking a lot?
Yeah. So
On top of that?
it was like a weekly self-sabotage. Like,
Okay.
so I would party on the weekends and then
Anxiety Monday. You're still
Yep.
not feeling yourself.
still feel, by Thursday, Friday, I felt better.
Find your
I'm
stride
going
now.
out
It's
with my
easy to start
boys.
drinking
We're
again.
going partying.
Right.
Yeah. And
Right
and that
back to the-
just did that forever. I felt like.
Right.
And then it trickled into some days during the week we go out after work and have beers, or sometimes we leave work early and go have beers. And, beers led to other things. And it just, like you said, full of anxiety, depression, regret, and just a lot of self-induced mistakes
Right.
that I didn't know how to fix. I didn't have anybody above me to show me a way. Like you said,
Right.
your dad was a great mentor. to
Yeah,
you.
my father is the best mentor I could have ever asked for.
I'm not bashing my father at all. I would never do that, but he didn't know all of the stuff that I know now.
Oh, no,
Exactly.
we've said
And-
that.
Which is how it's going to be ultimately one day for our kids too. They're
Yeah.
going to have that.
Your
more
kids
of
are
awareness.
blessed,
Yeah.
because of what you did with your life, and you went down this path. Their whole life's completely changed. That before they even know it,
Right. I
mean,
they're going to
Danny's
be
right.
different people
that's
than
powerful
if
shit.
you ever. If I never fixed myself, even my older girls who were around when I was down that dark path, when I changed myself, they changed.
So
you know,
was this change when you were still living in Massachusetts, or did this happen in Jersey? Or
this happened in Mass years
okay.
ago,
Okay, cool. About how many years ago?
about 5 years ago.
Awesome. So
So-
you're just about 40 years old.
Yeah,
And there's a big fork in the road right there. And, blue collar jobs, you're kind of around a certain type of daily habits.
Without a
And
doubt.
if you stay down that left lane of the daily drinking or the weekly drinking and different things, it gets further away from where you need to be. And it gets harder to say no. It becomes a habit. And now you're talking 10, 15 years of that habit. Now you're 55 and you're going, oh shit, I need some answers. Well, it's a little bit further away now. and-
Especially if you've surrounded yourself with people doing the same thing.
Yeah, and I think it's and I'm not just saying blue collar, because real estate is consumed with a lot of party.
everything.
It's a lot of party in there.
statistically,
And,
there's a real problem in blue collar community, and I see it every day.
I can imagine.
And when I changed myself, I became a leader in my company
Right.
in what I do, and that's something that I see and I try to change.
Have you been able to change anybody else?
I've been able to change a lot
Let's
of
go,
people.
baby.
And
Well,
and
Let's
One
go.
of those people is right there
Yeah.
because Casey, before we met,
Mm-hmm.
told me how large of an impact you had on him,
Yeah.
and that you've made him the man he is.
Yeah, you guys
and
need to get
got-
me crying
and-
today. I can feel it
This is
brewing.
real. Me and Casey talk
Yeah.
about this shit all the time. Me and Casey got really close.
yeah,
And we talk a lot. He got us into BMX, so I see him, at CJ BMX all the time. But he's told me how many times you would reach out and accountability buddy and
Yeah.
keep him going, and what you did for him emotionally, mentally, and physically is really amazing, because
Yeah.
he stands here, a stoic beast behind the camera, who's, I'm not going to say has life figured out, but he's figuring out his pieces, and he's
Yeah.
better than he was previously, and has light years to go just in his mind. But I think you're crushing it.
Hell yeah, me too.
And Danny, I could tell you,
Yeah,
if he hasn't
definitely.
told you, he attributes that to you.
yeah. And for
That's
the record,
incredible.
he's done the same for me.
That's it.
You know.
That's how
That's
it's gotta
where
be.
it's at.
It truly.
That's where it's at. That's where exactly where we like to
But
be.
now that's the point of your app,
Right.
correct?
Yeah.
Is having people push each other to just be better.
So did you guys meet on a job site?
We did. We met
Okay,
on a
cool.
job site, started talking about Andy Frisella.
Oh, cool.
And then got down to what he wanted to do, what his dream was. And
Yeah.
I was like, dude, like our dreams are so similar. And then we'd be like, what are we fucking long lost brothers or something?
Yeah,
And-
I don't know if you want to call these certain conversations like a godsend or
I
the
believe so.
energy frequency
They
or like
are.
why, but like there's always like it's not as uncertain. It wasn't just like it just so happened that you guys
Listen,
got
God
into
puts
talking like
people
that.
in each other's lives, sometimes for a reason. And
Yeah.
listen, you're in my life for a reason. I hope I'm in your life for a reason. I know the clarity that you've provided me and support, and I'm not where I want to be, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to be better than I was physically, mentally, emotionally. I'm trying to be more available. A lot of that is because of you, whether you realize it or not. I take your cues and how you deal with your children and how you manage your emotions and how accessible you are emotionally to try and better me, and how I internalize my emotions. You're kind of the opposite. And it's making me more aware over time that I have to be better.
There you go.
So, that was a chance encounter, though. I could have never been allowed at Impact for wrestling. I could have never been welcomed in. And
You're right. That was another type of
But
godsend
that-
that
and
you
that's
even
what I'm
end up at
saying.
the wrestling barn
Yeah.
in the first
Yeah.
place.
So,
I
yeah.
didn't know who this guy was at all.
just off a random post
Yeah.
on Facebook.
Yeah.
I
It was
put
Johnny
something-
Post.
But I posted something about trying to find my kid something to do at like 4
Yeah.
years old or whatever during
What,
COVID.
somebody tagged you or something?
Johnny comments, or Brett Kyle commented
Okay.
to get him into wrestling.
Okay.
I said, there's not a program for kids young enough.
And then what? Johnny Post was
Johnny
in the comments?
messaged me right away.
Okay.
And
Nice.
that got me and Pete linked up, and Pete was gracious enough to welcome me and my son into his wrestling club, which started out, a handful of kids, and now has blossomed into Pete touching the lives of a ton of young, impressionable athletes throughout
I
this
see.
area, boys, girls, high school kids to tots, and that was that chance encounter, because
That
Pete
was
didn't
another
Pete
similar
did
thing,
not
yeah.
have to let me in that room.
Yeah.
But he did. And because he did, we're sitting here. And because you guys were on that job site together,
Yeah.
that's where you're at.
That's awesome.
I believe we all have not just a purpose in this life, but I believe everything happens for a reason. Like, where I was in a real dark place and now I'm in a real light place. I would want to say for people to hear on this podcast too, that like if you are in that dark place, just know that like it's for a reason. And when you finally come out, you won't know till you come out of it. And
Yeah.
hopefully people like us can spread that message so that people can hold on.
Yeah.
For sure. Did you
And-
ever fall into like that why me bullshit? Like, why is this happening to me?
I never had a victim mentality,
Right, right,
really.
right. Yeah.
I just never went down that path.
Right,
I always
right.
saw that path, and I
Right.
didn't like it.
Didn't like it. Yeah,
Like,
you
I was
heard
like,
it from
dude,
somebody else,
yeah,
and you're like,
you had nothing to
you
do
made
with
the
this.
fucking decision.
You had
Yeah.
nothing to do
right,
with why
right,
that
right,
happened.
Right. Well, that's
So-
good self-awareness on your part.
Two things. So I had that, and I also had a great work ethic. That's what my father instilled into me.
Beautiful.
And I always got up, no matter how screwed up I was or what I
Exactly.
was doing the night before. I always got up and went
Which
to work.
makes it hard to stop partying when you know that you have that within you. Like, I
Exactly.
could do anything till 4 a.m.
Yeah.
or 3
And we're
a.m.
good to go.
I'm going to
But
work.
as you get older, it runs,
Right.
it runs dry.
That probably made it a little bit easier to take your foot off the gas.
Exactly.
That hangover that took a day or two was lasting 3-4
Yeah.
days. I can imagine.
tough.
So, did you completely remove yourself from alcohol?
I don't drink a sip of alcohol.
And that was
anymore.
what, 5 years ago?
Yeah.
God bless.
I have had a couple beers since then, like
Right,
a
right.
drink or a sip,
Yeah.
but I won't even
Yeah.
get through a whole beer here and
God
there.
bless.
So yeah,
God bless.
Did
Did you have one night out partying that you said "fuck this" or?
I had a million nights out partying.
Yeah, but was the last one like, all right, this is it, bro? I've been
Yeah.
telling myself get off the shit for years.
Yeah, actually, but that wasn't too bad. So that was actually one time I drank with Casey at a truck show, and I
Right,
got
right.
Sounds like it was
buzzed.
bad for Casey.
His mother got me buzzed, but yeah, it wasn't so much the drinking; it was what came after the drinking. The
Yeah.
drinking would make me not give a shit about anything. So
Right.
then I would go do harder drugs.
And straight
And-
self-pity involved with that shit, too.
And then I'd wake up or not wake up, just go right through the night and be like, I'm a piece of shit. And I'd hear the
Yeah.
birds chirping, and I'd just be like, what am I doing?
Doing
with my
it
life?
again.
And
Yep.
as I had Soph, who's now 9 years old, when she was first born, I was still doing some of this stuff. And there were mornings where, like, I just would look at her and just be like, what the fuck? I screwed her. I made this mistake with my other kids. I'm going to do this again. And
It's funny you mentioned the birds chirping and seeing your daughter, because Danny Longo from Just Strange, who you met before, said the same thing, and he mentioned the birds chirping.
Yeah.
And-
But he had a cigar. He was sober.
Yeah.
So the birds are still going to be chirping.
But it's a different
where
chirp,
are you
bro.
at? Yeah,
Yeah.
where are you
This
at?
chirp
Are you
is a
still up from the night
reminder.
before?
It's a chirp that reminds you that you should not be doing what you're doing.
Right.
And look at you now.
Yeah.
And look how you feel now. And like, is this who you want to be for your kids? And I also felt like my kids were growing up and, you know, the mask was going to come off and they were going to know who I really was. And because they never knew.
Glad that
like,
you called it a mask too, because that's
Yeah.
really what it is at the end of the day.
Yeah, you pretend to be somebody
you're
else.
drinking, you're drugging, whatever it
Yeah.
is, you're masking your feelings,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you know you're not dealing with life. You're
Yeah.
postponing dealing with life.
Postponing,
but,
dealing it, and simultaneously kind of compounding any type of issues that would be happening.
it's like a snowball. It's only going to
Yeah.
get bigger.
And
Yeah.
part of my self-reflection and awareness was like, hey, I got to go talk to my kids about this and I got to apologize. And when I did that, they were like, you were the best dad ever.
Right,
Like, they were
they
like, what are
were.
you talking? I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I wasn't. Like,
Yeah.
I really wasn't.
I could have
you
been
know?
better, but
And I
I'm glad you guys felt all that love,
Yeah.
but I could
Yeah.
have been better.
I wanted
Wow.
to be honest with them.
Yeah.
It was part of me healing,
Yeah.
you know, and going through all this stuff and seeking out to be the best version of myself. You have to be honest with yourself and others. And I mean, especially yourself.
Right.
That's the hardest thing. I know I keep saying it, but self-awareness is the hardest thing for anybody to go through, to say, this is who I really am.
Hardest yet most rewarding.
Yes, most rewarding.
Yeah, but you got to have the ability to face yourself. And you know that
That's
is
tough.
fucking
Yeah.
tough, bro. When it's you versus you, and you're holding yourself accountable, and you're saying, you know, you ate like shit, or you drank too much, or whatever it is. That conversation, when you're looking at yourself in the mirror, you're the only set of eyes judging you, and it's the worst set of eyes.
That was the meditation for me.
Yeah.
I remember sitting on my couch and saying, I had already done it a couple of times, and I was fucking dreading it. And I'm like, it's either I go through this or I die, because I can't live like this anymore. And I was like, if it kills me to go through this, it kills me. And I just sat back and just let it all come out.
That's amazing.
God bless. All right, so we talked about, as far as the daily habits, we talked about the meditation, the gratitudes, the workouts. What else you got going on the daily?
Cold plunge, right? You're a cold plunge guy?
I do cold plunge. I haven't been lately. I gave my tub to Casey, actually.
Smart man.
Yeah, but I'm looking to buy a plunge once I get my new house that Peter's helping me with.
Beautiful.
And
Beautiful.
because that's a great habit. It's just unbelievable how it makes you feel, plus all the health benefits, which everybody knows by now. But I read. I just got off 75 hard.
Okay.
Right-
okay. So
right
you
before
had that
this
whole
happened.
format. See, my thing with 75 hard, I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
But my thing that I saw with my friends getting involved was either number one, they kind of slipped up on one thing and they missed that, and they missed out on like day 50.
Yeah.
I was like, dude,
So-
you got great things there. Just keep that rolling. Like maybe you failed 75 hard, ride it out for the next 75, and then start out from zero and like run it back. But my thing was like, you know, if you kind of neglect like pie or pizza or, you know, some type of shit that you weren't doing, 75 days is up. Now you're going freaking
No.
ham on something. Where no, I'm saying some of the other guys that I
Yeah.
saw were, you know, kind of going down that road. I think that's a great foundation to lay and just move that forward every single day.
No doubt.
I love to read in the 5 pages. What is it? Any type of book that you're
Personal development books only.
every time?
I
So
don't
now
read
you just
anything
stay
but-
there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
have one in particular that you found to be
Well,
your
the,
go-to?
the Andy Frisella's newest book is called The Mental Book on Toughness, which is explains 75 hard, plus has so much other stuff.
Good.
That's one of my most recent favorite books ever. But there's another one. I don't even know who wrote it.
I didn't know
Yeah.
you wrote a book. What,
I'm currently-
what the fuck, man? We've been talking for like 45 minutes. How did we not get to you're an author?
No, I'm not exactly yet. I haven't finished it.
Well, you're writing a book.
Yeah.
Let's
so,
talk about it.
Let me tell you the other book, which is
Billy's
I got
juice.
really excited.
I believe I'll have to look it up after, but I believe it's called The 7 Habits of Highly. I don't know. I'm
Okay.
gonna watch it, but yeah, something like that. It's a great book. I'll have to get it to you guys. But I started writing my book midway through my journey, and now that I've gotten to where I am today, and how I feel today, I just don't want to put it out. I want to go back, reread it, and rewrite some things because
Right.
I've figured
From
out
a different
more.
lens now. Yeah, good.
And that would have been fine if I had the courage back then to put it out. I didn't.
Right.
And now I do. You know, I don't fear judgment anymore
Good.
as I
Good
used
place
to.
be.
And but I know there's things in there that I was wrong about. And
Okay.
I want to change those things.
Right
so
back to that self-awareness.
self-awareness.
Yeah,
exactly.
I love it.
So far, I,
love
gotta
it.
say, I think your greatest quality is your self-awareness.
Yeah.
I mean, the ability to reflect and say, I know there's things that are wrong that I want to change. That's big.
yeah.
I think I like the fact that he's a kind gentleman
Thank you.
savage too.
Yeah.
Like you can tell he's a savage, but he doesn't have to talk loud.
No.
He don't have to freaking yell at
No.
anybody.
I've
you know,
always
he's got
been
this
very
look.
kind and
Yeah.
courteous, and
Yeah.
that was something that my mother, my father,
God bless.
always instilled in us. Say thank you, please.
I'm
all
certain
that
there's
stuff.
a side that people don't want to see, though.
Definitely.
Listen,
With all
Which
of us
is-
sitting here.
Yeah.
It's
Right,
like-
which is the kind savage concept.
Yeah.
The gentleman beast, whatever you want to call it.
now, have you always had like that savage side of you under control?
no.
Because I know in my 20s, I did not have that side of me under control.
If you see in some of my older apartments and houses, there'd be many holes in the wall.
Yeah, I get that, bro.
I grew up with a father who couldn't control his temper, and so that kind of came down onto us. And I would look back at it now, and that's weakness.
Damn, that's
you know,
powerful.
But
yeah,
it's true.
Yeah, it
is.
You know,
It
the,
is.
the loud person is usually the weak one.
No, even like he's talking about too, on top of that, you're right. But on top of that is like, it's easy to react that way.
Yeah,
It's
it's
easy
super
to
easy.
lose your
Yeah.
cool and
It's tough
overreact.
to stay
The
controlled.
toughness, yeah.
Yeah, but
Wow.
you find that in finding out who you are as a person.
Yeah.
And when becoming self-aware again, and then growing into that person, you find that, you know, you have to control those things in your life. You know,
That's why I
that,
don't drink. I would drink and I would fight.
Yeah.
I enjoy drinking, but I love fighting when I drank.
Yeah.
It just was a terrible mix for
Yep.
fucking everybody.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was afraid of nobody. I was afraid of nothing. So, like, the outcome didn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm in the shit. If we're going, I'm in. Now I sit there like I'm drinking bottles of water. There could be a fight in front of me. I'm
Yeah.
worried about
Yeah.
protecting whoever I'm with. We can call it a day. Let's get the
Yeah.
fuck out of here. I
Yeah.
don't need any part of that.
but it's not even when you drink, just when you're drinking.
No,
It's
for me it was. Like,
but it's also changing who you are as a person during the week,
absolutely.
and
Definitely.
then you're a little more agitated. You're a little more aggravated
Yeah,
with that guy who's in your way or
tired.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, yeah.
exactly.
yeah,
Whole trickle down.
yeah.
Yep.
You know, I'm at the point now where I got a lot of beef on alcohol now.
Yeah.
And like society and how they treat it. And, you know, I saw something that basically said, like, there's no protein in there. There's nothing good for you in there.
Well, didn't
You
they
know?
actually try to make a protein vodka at some
Oh,
point?
God.
I swear that's a thing.
You know?
Probably.
Yeah,
And
I'm
like this
almost
time of
certain there's
year-
a protein-based vodka.
This time of year is really like drinking
I gotta
season.
Google it.
This is like heavy drinking season
Yeah.
right now. And, you know, looking back, it's been 9 years, and like I enjoy a day buzz. You know what I mean? Like, hey, who
Yeah.
doesn't? Like, that's fun.
Yeah,
like,
going-
you
yep.
ramp it up, like everything's going great. You got the weekend to look forward
Yeah.
to, not a care in the world until, like you're saying, like that next day or two. Especially if you got a family, there's definitely a trickle down there.
Yeah.
You know, even if your kids weren't feeling it at the moment, you were feeling it
Yeah.
subconsciously.
Protein, Devotion vodka was a protein-based vodka.
Oh my god.
I knew.
Get
I
my
knew it.
protein on.
But
But
How
I
many
mean,
grams?
how crazy is that, though?
Yeah.
It's
'Cause,
funny.
It's smart, you know. It's big business at the end of the day.
Yeah,
Alcohol.
but it's gimmicky, and if you're dumb enough to buy into the concept that you're going to get some protein intake that's beneficial,
Come on.
Dude,
from
you know-
shots of fucking vodka,
Bro, you know there were people out there
Oh,
drinking the
absolutely.
Kool-Aid, bro.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Have a few shots before the weight room.
Obviously, I know about it because my
Yeah.
friends were probably drinking.
I can imagine.
Me, I was like a kettle guy when I was
Yeah.
when I
Yeah.
was drinking. But
I was too.
that's kind of, I mean, think about how fucking warped our world is. We're trying to market
Yeah.
protein vodka.
Yeah, I just don't like how
I'm tired of
you
all
know
the Bud
it's
Light,
everywhere.
Miller Lite
Well, and that's the
commercials.
thing, and just like the way, like I wish they would. I don't know. I mean, it's a business at the end of the day. So of course, but I keep visualizing like Corona. You're in paradise.
Yeah.
And I was talking to somebody just last week that was looking to get some help and some guidance on being sober, and kind of like those original thoughts, like, hey, I'm not really liking how I'm feeling, how I'm acting, how frequently it's going on, like kind of losing control of this stuff over here. But I wish the Corona commercial was like the reality, bro.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you're in paradise with the Corona. All right, show this guy the next morning. How many did he have?
Paradise is
Yeah.
You know, did he have
realistically,
one?
yeah.
All
It
right,
can be
so he's
that
cool.
paradise for a couple
Exactly,
hours,
yeah,
but
exactly.
It's not going
Yeah.
to be that when you
Yeah.
wake up.
No.
Yeah, show the guy after 17 face down, throwing up. Put that in the commercial.
It's
you know.
funny that you said you had a beef with the alcohol industry in that sort of sense, because I got that beef with the food industry as I went
the
through
beef is there too.
75 hard, and I was forcing myself to start eating clean and healthy. Is when you really realize how fucked up it is.
Yeah.
It is bad.
can
And
imagine.
everything that's marketed to us and the kids and just everywhere you go,
Yep.
you don't have a lot of options to eat healthy. You have
don't.
to
No,
really
and
put
even
in a lot of effort to do
options
so.
really do.
You think
And the
are
cost is
healthy
higher.
are insane.
Right.
They're terrible
crazy.
for you. So
Even like cereal, they say say
Yeah.
cereal is the best thing. Have it in the morning.
Oh my
that
God.
that was just a marketing
yeah,
Like
it's
tactic.
marketing.
cyanide in like half the cereals
all
or
the
something.
sugar.
So
and we
many-
wonder why the kids are so rambunctious. They're
Yeah.
having freaking pixie
Why are
sticks
we
for
putting
breakfast.
all this stuff in the food?
It's back to just big-
Chick-fil-A
big money.
Markets their chicken sandwich, the chicken breast as
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
real
This is all
chicken.
coming out recently.
I drank
right?
that
Yeah.
Kool-Aid, bro. I
Bro,
thought
it's
Chick-fil-A
like
was
40 plus different ingredients
Yeah.
in the chicken, not
could
in the
almost taste
sandwich.
it.
No,
now
you-
that you have the awareness, you could almost taste it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You got to
me.
go to Shake Shack if you want a chicken sandwich.
Oh, is that the spot?
Dude, it's
Well,
the
is there a
best.
Shake Shack around here?
There's one on the turnpike up near Hamilton.
All right.
All right.
It's
I'm getting hungry
unbelievable.
too. I might have to make it right out the
I'll
house.
probably
and order
order
this,
some.
dude.
I'll give
when I
a
get
shout
down
out to
here.
Shake
Yeah.
Shack right now. Me and
All right,
Casey
so
like,
Shake Shack, if you want to reach out and be a sponsor,
Yeah.
we're here.
yeah.
But hey, you're absolutely right. And like we've talked about the food and everything, and even my thing. The last time I went to the grocery store with the kids, when you go to check out, every aisle has the candy,
Yeah.
and the eye level is right where the kids are at.
Yep.
You know what
My
I mean?
wife
So
says
it's like
stay in
bing.
the outer perimeter. That's the
Yeah,
only place
that
you're going
outer
to
perimeter.
find healthy
I
stuff.
That's where you got
hearing
the
that now,
produce.
too, yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yep.
The outer perimeter, if we're talking sheer percentages wise, what is that? Is that 5% of the whole store?
Oh,
So
yeah,
95%
probably about that,
of
yeah.
these stores
Yeah.
are bad,
And
poison,
Yep.
that
even
are
when
that
you
are
go-
actually kind of addicting, a lot of them too.
Wicked
Because they taste
addictive.
so good,
Bro,
you don't
food
get full.
is addicting. Food
Yeah.
is the worst addiction
It is.
that I can.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a food addiction. I medicate myself daily when I'm fucking struggling.
That's what
I'll
you
order
said.
Reese's, whatever.
Yeah.
Like I stress eat, bro. But you even go into like the natural organic aisle. And you read the ingredients on some
It's
of this
bullshit.
stuff. It's bullshit. It doesn't belong there. It belongs right next door to the
Right in the
to
middle with
deli meat.
everything
Like,
else.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
whatever. It's terrible for you still.
Don't
Oh, yeah.
believe the organic
Yeah,
label. It's not
Definitely.
It's still loaded with processed bullshit.
Yep. And Joe Rogan was saying that food is worse than like fentanyl right now.
Bro, food is
because
bad.
because he brought up a good point. He said food's interesting because you need it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you have to eat it, but
A lot of people don't have the education.
the
to avoid,
overeating,
too.
what to eat,
Yeah.
how much to eat, is very very difficult. And I even said the same thing on like a road trip. Like the way things are right now, if you get into a 4 or 5 hour car ride with the family, what are you going to have
Yeah.
realistically that is decent for you?
Yeah.
Like that's where
I
it
will
gets tough.
say, like nowadays, with the internet and everybody being a guru on every subject,
Right.
everything's bad for you, dude.
Yeah. Right.
Water's bad for you now. Like everything, every corner I turn, they're saying something's bad for you. I'm
I
like, well, I
remember
thought
when
that was
eggs
good
were
for you.
bad. That
Eggs
was a
and
big
milk.
thing. Yeah, but now eggs are coming back. That it was almost like no, the yolk isn't that bad.
Yeah.
Because I remember
Yeah.
eating just egg
Egg
whites,
whites.
and that was the thing. But
Right.
you're missing out on a lot in those
Yeah.
yolks. But yeah,
And
it happens all the
everything in
time.
moderation, I guess. But like,
Yeah,
we're
but-
at that wrestling tournament this weekend, and I was talking to one of the parents. We had a great time, and we interacted with a bunch of people. But one of the parents is talking about Prime, the drink that kids.
Oh, good, bro.
How
Marketing to the
terrible-
kids too.
Yeah,
I'll market
how terrible
this.
it is.
Yeah.
This is the best drink,
Yeah.
best and healthiest drink you can find for hydration.
But
And they're marketing right to the children.
Yeah, and
TikTok
it's
and everything
apparently
else.
got
Bad.
like real levels of toxins in it. Like,
Yeah.
but
Gatorade.
I won't let
Yeah.
any of my kids drink energy drinks.
Oh,
None.
energy drinks
Yeah.
is a whole nother topic.
Yeah,
I'm
forget
addicted.
it.
Of
If
banging
we're
out
saying
Red
Prime
Bulls.
is bad and Gatorade is bad, yeah. Hey, listen, Red Bulls are good. I remember cutting weight in college, and I would have a Red Bull every day, and I would it was only because there's only like 8 ounces or
Yeah.
whatever it may be.
I had the
I
Red
was
Bull
tired as
vodka
hell.
diet.
Oh yeah, those are good too. Those are
Yeah.
good too. What's the other one with the Jägermeister? What do they
Jaeger
call
bombs.
that?
Drop a
Jaeger
shot.
bombs.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are so
Yeah.
good.
Go down real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was
Yeah, that's a whole nother level
good
of
times,
jacked
man,
up
good
too.
times.
When you're adding alcohol and Red Bull, dude, it's on. Of course, you
Yeah.
guys are trying to fight people.
Yeah.
yeah, good fucking times, man.
No, definitely, man. Anything else on the daily? I wanted to ask. 75 Hard, I think, says 5 pages a day.
10 pages.
10
a day.
pages a day. What I like about that is I was never a strong reader and I was never really interested in reading.
Yeah.
But if you could break it down to like 5 to 10 pages a day,
Yeah,
sometimes you could shift those pages over and you end up on 15, 20.
Yeah.
You know, but
yeah, once you start reading and you get
Right.
a page or two in,
Yeah.
and especially with a personal development book,
right.
You're
almost
learning.
eager to,
Yeah.
to turn
You
that
just got to
page.
get in a rhythm with it.
Yeah.
The first time is going to be your hardest. The second
For
time it's
sure.
going to be easier, and then it's going to become
Right.
normal and progressive.
Right.
Well,
I almost like deemed myself a bad reader because number one, I wasn't getting reps in, and number two, I was probably looking at 300 pages and it's like, oh, am I going to get to the end?
Yeah.
And it's just like, dude, no
So it
rush.
also
There's
has
no
to
book
do
report
with,
on this
with
thing.
the books that you're getting into. Like,
Right.
we met this guy the other day. Well, my brother's very good friends with him. I've met him a few times, and we were together the other day. And he's got a book, The American Radical, and it is, I mean, stimulating. You go through it. I was able to get through half the book in less than a week, which previously would have,
Damn.
I probably would have put down.
Okay,
But
Adderall.
well, it's a true story.
Just kidding.
No, it's a true story. It's engaging. It's
Yeah.
it reached to me, so it was
Yeah.
for my audience. And what
There's
I
a lot
like.
of really good benefits for your mental health to just
Yeah,
reading too.
just sitting
Because
down
if we're
and
talking
it's just
about
you.
our minds being all over the place,
Yeah,
you're forced to just stay one word at a time.
Yeah.
What people don't realize about a book is like you go through your whole life figuring something out and you figure it out and you're successful in it. And then you write a book to help people get to that. And you can read that book and skip 90% of all those mistakes that were made by him.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
And it's just successful people putting out information that they're giving to you $10 on Amazon.
Yeah.
It's true.
Like it's amazing what a book can do to change your life. It
That's
really is.
amazing.
Just on the level of focus that you're bringing yourself to actually read the 10 pages or 20 pages, whatever it is, to sit down, commit to do it. That's probably harder for me, not maybe everybody else, than to sit down and read 10 pages is probably harder for me to go to the gym.
It's almost like what we were saying to Strangio. Your book comparison is almost like the one person who's fearful to go to the gym
go to
to
the
get
gym,
judged.
yeah.
It's just like the one day. It's
Yeah.
opening the first page
Just get
of the
started.
book.
Yeah.
And then you're good.
Yeah.
Go to the gym the first day and you're good. Go for the run the first day, the walk.
Yeah.
Do the meditation for the first time.
Yeah.
Do the cold plunge for the first time.
the book is hard for me though.
Yeah.
But
Lewis Howes just
Might
his
help,
most
though.
recent book.
It has.
Yeah.
It will really help you with fear of judgment if anybody has that. I had that huge, and I still do a little bit. I shouldn't sit here and say I don't have it, but
I think that's something
it's
that's
a
going to
big
be
thing.
within human beings.
it's
Right.
You know.
but that book helped me so tremendously with fear of judgment.
Good.
And like it's just it really doesn't matter what other people say because it doesn't matter who you decide to be. You could be anybody and do anything, and they're going to say things about you.
Definitely.
You know, you guys are doing a great thing here on the podcast,
Yeah.
but there's people out there that will say things, negative
For
things
sure.
about you.
For sure. And I almost kind of take that stuff like irrationally at times that I'll kind of lose sight
Yeah, but
of
it
like
can't
what
get in
our
your head.
mission was, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just almost want to explain it to somebody. Like, why do you have a problem that I'm trying to help one guy?
But it just doesn't
Feel
matter.
better than I did at
Doesn't
one
matter
time.
what you do.
It doesn't matter.
You know?
Yeah.
It
No,
doesn't
you're
matter
so
who
right.
you are, how many people you help or
Yeah.
give to or anything. They're still going to say something.
So true.
You know?
Yeah. He probably got a call about a doctor, but that's about an hour. I think we're good.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll come back.
No, you're fine. You want to just close out? Want to just
All
close?
right, guys,
It's
sorry
been an
about
hour.
I got a call that I was
That's
trying to
nice. Carry
answer
on.
that was important. I didn't mean to be rude.
at all.
Danny, we appreciate you checking in.
For sure.
Everybody check out his app.
Yeah.
Mindset Made. You can get it on the Apple Store, Google Store, whatever that's called. Also, thank you to Casey from Lifted for Life for getting us set up with Danny. And we look forward to seeing you guys in the future. Anybody wants to reach out with questions, concerns, we're all here. Click the links, like, share, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Absolutely. Danny, thank you so much for coming on, open up to us, having that heart to be able to want to help people feel better than you once did. Just keep it going, dude. You're such an inspiration, man. It's been great having you today.
Thank you, man. I'm very grateful and honored. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.